Good afternoon and welcome to another 12 and a half minutes, brought to you by Elevator, one of Scotland's leading entrepreneurial and business support organisations. My name's Andy Campbell and I have the pleasure each week of spending 12 and a half minutes in the company of some tremendous people from many different walks of life. We try and pick people who are pioneers, trailblazers, entrepreneurs and explorers, and we try and pick people who will come and speak to us and tell us about their experiences in life and bless us with some of their wisdom, talk about some of the techniques that they use in their role and the lessons and insights that they've learned that you can apply to yourself. Perhaps you can apply it to your business, your own working life, or even just yourself personally. And it's always a really enlightening period of the week, 12 and a half minutes every Friday at 3 p.m. Of course, you can follow us on social media. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. So this week, I am joined by a real Aberdeen local hero, a Scottish braveheart who has been capped no less than 116 times for their national team. Currently a defender with the Utah Royals and Scotland's national team captain. A very warm welcome to Rachel Corsie.
Thanks, Andy.
Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
And how are you? And I'm saying good morning, Rachel, for the simple fact that you're not in the UK, you're not in Scotland, you are indeed in Salt Lake City in Utah.
Yeah, I am. So it's 8 a.m. So just up and ready, and after this, I'll be straight to some training.
Straight to some training, and understand you've had your porridge already, Rachel. Is that correct?
I have. Keep it true to my roots.
Fantastic, Rachel. And actually, we've interviewed a number of people across 12 and a half minutes already over the past few weeks. And this one, we've actually been inundated with emails and various posts. I know there's a lot of people tuning in to watch you because we introduced you as a local hero and Scottish braveheart, and many people see you like that. So I know there's a lot of people who are keen to hear what you've got to say. So I'm delighted that you're able to take some time out of your day, Rachel, to join us.
Absolutely.
So we ask each guest when they come on the show to give us a couple of minutes of, an overview, their career path to date, and what they do for the day job. So Rachel, over to you for the next few moments.
Okay. So yeah, as you mentioned, obviously I grew up in Aberdeen. I went to Hazelhead Academy, and that was the start of, I suppose, my journey, both academically and from a sports capacity. And at that point in time, you couldn't actually play football for the school. So I actually grew up spending most of my time playing other sports, and sport just became a big, I guess, salvation to the other aspects of my life, and something that I just thoroughly enjoyed. That I loved that competitive edge, and so it all began there. Played my youth football at Stonehaven, and again that was just really recreational. I just loved it. I just had a passion for football. I supported Aberdeen. I loved going to watch them, and it started as that. It's just been something in my life that was always something I truly loved. At the end of my school time, I had a fairly strong academic focus, and so I made the decision that I wasn't ready to leave Aberdeen, so I chose to study accounting and finance at RGU. And again, I crossed paths with some really influential people at the time. The sporting director there, Filippo Antoniazzi, he really pushed me. He was a big advocate for women's sport, and especially had an interest in football too, which I think was fortunate for me as it allowed me to have some flexibility over my exams and over tough kind of study periods in the academic schedule that allowed me to maintain my training. And it was around sort of a similar time then that I had some youth national team experience. I transitioned from youth football to senior football. I signed for Aberdeen for, I think it was a season and a half. And then also during that term, I was at RGU from 2008 through to 2011. And within that, in 2009, I made my Scotland debut in March against France. So that obviously was a very proud moment, and turned out to be very fortunately one of a number of appearances that I've made for the national team. Going on from there, I was, I guess, scouted by Glasgow City, who at the time were the best team in the Women's Premier League. So in 2011, I moved to Glasgow, having already played for the team for a year and a half. So there was some interesting travel and different kind of challenges whilst I was still living in Aberdeen in that crossover period. And there's a funny story with a car salesman who just thought I was a little girl who couldn't read their car mileage, because it was incredibly high for a 3-year-old car at the time. But turns out I could read my car mileage, and he very much overvalued my car. Anyway, I then went on to work for Ernst & Young and went on to their graduate scheme and qualified as a chartered accountant in 2013. And then 2014, signed my first professional contract for Notts County in England. I think that was a scary moment for me, being an accountant. You know, you're typically risk averse, and sort of leaving a steady and stable job and career to go and take on something that most people, certainly then and even some now, don't understand is possible in female football to make a career out of. So that was a scary point, but fortunately it was a successful one. I spent a year in Nottingham before 2015 I was taken over to Seattle to play for Seattle Reign in the American Top League. I spent 3 great years there before then being signed by Utah Royals back in 2018. And here we are. And I think over the last couple of years, there's been some great moments for the national team. There was the Euros in Netherlands in 2017, which was obviously a huge highlight and a huge achievement for the squad to make their first major tournament. And then we followed that up with the World Cup last summer. And that was, again, another really special experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And all the way from Aberdeen to Utah, and the journey that you've had has been exceptional. It really has, Rachel. And ultimately, when you're playing for your national team, that's a really important role. And when you've got that captain's armband on as well, I would imagine the responsibility that goes along with that's pretty significant. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into what that means to play for your national team and to wear the captain's armband?
Yeah, of course. I think playing for your national team for me still remains the greatest sort of honor and privilege, and it's the proudest thing that I've achieved. I think, you know, when it comes to club career, you have a little bit of a say, but to represent your national team, you know, every time you're selected, that's something that you cannot take for granted. And I don't think any of us do. I think we all have that Scottish pride about us that everyone speaks of, and it's always a very proud moment. I think the captaincy is something that when I was named as captain, again was a huge honour, something that I was really proud of, still am very proud of. I think I maybe didn't realise quite what it would fully entail. And there is a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of pressure, and you know, there's sort of, you have to kind of act in a way that the camera's always on you, and especially as you know, you still have to always remember that there's people watching you, people see you as a role model, and that never goes away.
Yeah, and what are some of the traits that you need? Because ultimately, as a captain, you are in that middle role. You've got your team to run and manage, and then you've got the management of the team itself. So what are some of the traits that you find are important within that captain position?
Yeah, I think for me, and I think the reason why it's been something that has been a role that I've maybe taken on in other club environments too, is I think you need to be reliable, and people really need to trust you. You need to have an awareness for other people and everyone in the group. And I think that's something that can be really hard. It's something that you have to continually work on. because for the most part, we tend to at times want to be selfish and focus on what's good for us. But I think I've known a lot of the girls now, certainly in the national team, and I think they see me as that person that they can trust and rely on. And it maybe comes with the territory of being a defender. It's not the most glamorous role, but your job is to be solid and steady. And I think people, when they feel emotional or vulnerable or anxious, they just want to cling on to someone who they feel has it together. So
you're seen as the solid player within. You're the rock, you're the defender. You've got everyone's back, and presumably you've got the broad shoulders to be able to deal with that. And communication is vital throughout all of that, Rachel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the number one thing. I always say that, people can handle bad news, but it's when people feel they don't know what's happening or they feel uncertain. And so I think that's, again, another challenge. We don't spend a lot of time together throughout the year. But we have a really good group that works really hard to communicate all the time, whether that's small pieces of information or more important things when they arise. But I think that's something that, again, you always have to work on. I think I've done that, and I feel it's something that I'm relatively good at, but there's always scope to improve and be better.
Yeah. And football is a tough game. You will clearly win games, you will lose games, and maybe dealing with the downside of football, when people are maybe too quick to criticize, or results go against you, or decisions go against you. In that position, Rachel, and you've got your team to move forward, what are some of the techniques that you use in coping with those more challenging moments?
Yeah, I think I have been known to lose my temper, I will say that. But I think one thing that's important is to not be reactionary. I think it's really easy to do that, to be in the heat of the moment, for someone to say something and want to immediately respond. And I think I've learned that for things that certainly are more important, the best thing to do is to take a moment to breathe, and however long that moment may be is up to that individual, up to me at times. And I think, again, it goes back to people want clear and concise communication, and they want to feel that you can provide them with something reliable that they can feel calms them down. And so that typically I try not to react to certain things, and that can be hard. And I have my own people that I have when I need to rant, rather than maybe responding straight back to that person.
Yeah, and football is an emotional game. There's no doubt at all that it will challenge you in those particular areas. We are obviously live on Facebook and YouTube, and we've got a question coming in from our very own Richard Corrigan. What would you say to someone that wanted to make a career in football? Now, I'm going to preface this one with a little picture here for you to see, Rachel. Okay. Hopefully that's appeared on your screen.
It has, yes.
And hopefully you remember that event that you were at there. But if you look at number 12 with the goalie gloves on and orange shorts, that's Orla. So a career in football, Rachel, what's your thoughts?
I think something that I wish that I'd been told when I was much younger is that it's a lifestyle. It's everything you do in your day affects it. And the best thing to do is to make as many good decisions as you can along the way, big and small. So that comes down to if you have your porridge in the morning, and what time you go to bed at night, and how long you sit up and spend on your phone, and all these little things, they all add up. And I've played with and against some of the best players in the world, and learned a lot from them. Some lessons have been harder than others, as I'm sure you can imagine. And typically, and I think it's no surprise, those are the players who make the most really, really articulated and detailed decisions over the smallest thing to the biggest thing.
Yeah. And obviously, in terms of your own background, qualified chartered accountant, and we know in football it can be a relatively short career. Obviously, you can go into management, but there's a retirement age for players. Some, of course, may be injured out of the game as well. You've got that career, that other profession that you can fall back on. But what's your advice in terms of having that? If you're looking to see football as a career for you, what about the having a backup role in place?
Yeah, I think it's certainly really important. And again, how that looks will differ from person to person and what their interests are. And for me, that was accounting, and I had a real interest in business and finance, and I still do. And I hope to combine that after my playing days. But as you say, as the game becomes more professional as well, the ruthlessness and the competition will just increase more and more. And I think it's important to have something that you can fall back on, because as you say, your career can end in any one moment, and that is scary. And I've had injuries along the way that have come close to some moments where I've wondered if that was where I was at. So I think that for me has been a really valuable asset, and something I would encourage many others to certainly consider.
Yeah, and Rachel, that's fantastic advice. And as I mentioned at the start of the program, I know that there's an awful lot of people who are quite keen to see what what your views are and how you made your career within football. And we're all proud to have you as the national team's captain for Scotland. We're obviously in rather challenging times and with COVID and the impact that that's going to have in sport. But when's the next big Scotland game for you? What have we got to look forward to?
It's a little unknown. We're hopeful that the September FIFA window will remain open, so we're shooting for September. It looks like the schedule will be reshuffled, so I'm not sure. I think we were supposed to play Portugal and Finland. That looks like it's going to change, but keep you guys posted on the social media. But September's when we're fingers crossed we'll be able to play some competitive matches.
Great. Well, Rachel Corsie, thank you so much indeed for spending 12.5 minutes with us this morning. Enjoy your training session, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much. Well, another fantastic interview. Thank you so much indeed, Rachel, for taking time from Salt Lake City to join us today for 12.5 minutes. As always, you can follow Elevator on social media. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. So next week, we have yet another tremendous guest to join us. Someone who's on the board at Scottish Enterprise. They are also an investor in business. They have a PhD in molecular virology and biomedical sciences. It is the one and only Dr. Poonam Malik, who will be joining us next week. So make sure you tune in, same time, same place, Friday at 3 p.m. for 12.5 minutes, brought to you by Elevator. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And in the meantime, please do stay safe. Thank you.